I knew it was about a boy who probably got involved in a mass killing, and that really didn't appeal to me. I thought, there's no way that I can relate to this. This is going to be an extremely off-putting and frustrating experience. So when I finally put it on, I had a screener, and my wife and I were watching it, and about halfway through, I decided to turn it off because it seemed to me, as I said in my review, the whole first half was a wash in red that the director, Lynn Ramsey, she had only one color in mind, and that was red, and it was blatant. Mm-hmm. And then it was it gnawed at me all night, and the next day I said, I have to see the rest of it. Have to see how it evolves. And it was remarkable. I'm not sure I've ever had this experience before, where the first half of the movie and the second half of the movie were so different, and the second half, in a sense, really went back, reverberated back, and made the first half different. Now, what happened was the first half was blatant. It was red, red, red. Everything was red. Everything. She really overdid it. She overdid that one color, and I thought, here is a woman who is trying to be a stylist, but she's really, it's very excessive. In the second half, the violence is very discreet. It almost, you expect this to happen. You know that this is going to happen, but you don't see any of it. And it's not as though there's something missing. It's as though it gains humanity, and it's not. It doesn't exploit its materials. It's masterly. What she has done is masterly. And I went back and read the book, and the book is it's written by a woman born in North Carolina. She's now 54. She had her first 6 books, didn't make any money. And she had changed her name when she was very young, I think 15. She changed her name from Margaret Ann to Lionel Shriver. And she is a potent writer, and this is a harsh, potent, extraordinary book, because in the book she does give the details. But they're two different works, but both of them were works of art. And so here, this one that was off-putting to me because of the style at the beginning, I stayed with. We were talking about romantic and off air, and I think that sometimes that you stay with your romantic inclinations, and they turn out differently than you might have at first supposed.
I found it to be a very curious, endlessly fascinating movie, because if you take the subject matter, you could imagine it being Hollywoodized and turned into something like The Omen or The Bad Seed or something.
Well, she has a wonderful piece. Somebody might find it on the web where she talks about making the movie and making his relationship with the sister kinder and putting somebody perky like Diaz in the movie. And it really is a funny thing because she didn't really expect, I don't think, that the movie would be something that she would believe in and admire, and she did. And it's a wonderful example of a movie that succeeds on its terms, and the book succeeds on its terms, and its terms are different, but they're both they both reach an artistry.
Do you think, this is a silly question, but do you think it's a movie that because I have a very close friend that's just become a new parent, should I recommend the movie No.
It makes you. I think in the theater or watching the movie, we really come to hate the boy, and in the book, we realize that the mother doesn't like him either. I mean, that's a little bit. It's not as strong in the movie, but what do? You're going to give this to your friend, and he's going to look at his son as the bad seed. He's going to question every day, or his daughter, or whatever the offspring is. Oh my God, what? Oh my! He's playing with a squirt gun. What's that going to lead to? He likes this knife and he likes Play-Doh. Oh my God! What is he going to spread, and how is it? So no, I think it's hard enough for people whose children have grown up, much less. I would think that would be a cruel thing if you don't like him, or if you really want to destroy him psychologically, give him a copy of this.
Well, we always play kind of sick jokes on one another. So if only it was on DVD, I could wrap it up and give it to him as a congratulatory gift.
You've got a real mean streak.
That's right.
You've got to. Do you read novels at all?
Do I read who?
Read novels. Do you read fiction?
Yes, sir.
Well,
as much as I can.
You've got to read the book then. You really have to read the book because the book is quite an experience, and it fills in some of the blanks. What I loved, I was telling you about the use of red. Well, in the book, I wrote this passage down very early in the novel. The woman, the mother, goes to the market, and she says, "I caught my breath in soup. I meditated on Campbell's asparagus and cheese, thinking how Warhol would be appalled by the redesign." Now, that's the writer of the novel, Lionel Shriver. Well, Lynn Ramsey doesn't take Campbell's asparagus and cheese. She has a whole background of Campbell's red tomato soup. And, of course, I didn't realize when I wrote my book, my review of the movie, that she had made she was using Warhol, which I should have, of course, that the book had also used Warhol. I realized that Ramsey was, but I didn't realize that Shriver was as well. So it really is an interesting, if you ever teach a book, and if anybody ever teaches literature and film to an adult audience, this is a perfect example of a work that achieves something important in both forms.
What I also responded to I do definitely want to read the book, but what I also responded to in the film was in the relationship between the mother and child. I mean, obviously they're tied together intrinsically through blood, but at the same time they are disconnected from one another. There's something indefinable, but he is completely her, or he comes from her, and I think she can probably recognize some aspects of him that come from her.
Well, that's a little bit between. I'm kind of stuck on the book now, and I really should. But I think in the movie, it's more that she may have something to do with it, but not much. That in the movie, I think it really is more the nature. It's a bad seed. There is nothing she could do. In the book, she contributes and has perhaps more guilt and more awareness of her participation in his evil.
There's something remote in that character in the film, her character.
And very intentionally. Yeah. I mean, it's what Shriver does. It is so good, and what Ramsey and her co-scripter Rory Kinnear do. Parents aren't supposed to dislike their children. They're supposed to love them, and almost everything they do. Isn't that cute? Isn't that sweet? And the father in the movie, who probably is miscast. Riley's good. John C. Reilly is good, but he probably is a bit miscast because he's an enabler, but he's too much a good old boy, and in the book he's not. But we are not supposed to have strong feelings against our children, and this work does bring that out. And she's never had a child. She didn't want a child. She's married to a jazz drummer. They live both in Brooklyn and in England. But she probably can say that, and she's gotten such a strong reaction of other people, of book clubs and audiences, saying, we understand that it's not a utopian, it's not Eden, it's not, that there is often, you don't feel what you're supposed to feel. Life is not politically correct, and the feelings that one has to their own children may be raw and may be some kind of guilt, some kind of disdain almost. Mm-hmm. You're not supposed to have that with your children, but I think a lot of people do. And I think that she caught that, and the film captures that the cord between them, the umbilical, the psychological umbilical cord, is frayed, very much frayed, but it's still and tenuous, but it's still there.